What's up, ladies, gents, and wrestling fans? I'm Dominic D'Angelo. It's Rumor and Innuendo. It's a Wednesday. I'm of AdFreeShows.com, SEScoops.com, and Brass Ring Media. Per usual, I'm here today with Mr. Robert Karpolis. Robert, man, we got a lot to talk about today on a dynamite kind of Wednesday.
Well, Dom, I wish there was some sort of emotion I could convey to of how I feel that it's dynamite. I'm at a loss for words. I wish I could think of the right sort of emotion here.
Is it?
I'm so excited, and I just can't hide it.
Was it that, Robert?
No, that definitely wasn't it. They stole our bit.
Wait, who? Yes, they did.
They stole our bit of acknowledging how unbelievably stupid that was.
I don't know. I think they should have played that the whole time instead of bodies hit the floor.
Oh, there's a lot to unpack. We haven't gotten a chance to really talk Double or Nothing. I know we're going to do that at some point here today. There's a couple other news stories you wanted to you wanted to touch upon, so yeah. I will lean on you, Dom.
Okay, let's give some shout outs real quick to some folks in the chat. We got Triple E in the house. He says, does WWE want the fans to forget that Bronson Reed tried to put Seth out of the pasture a few months ago?
Oh, no, they acknowledged it. And Paul Heyman is such a grand, wise man and master negotiator, and that Seth Rollins is such a benevolent individual looking for the future of the industry. He was willing to do what was best for business and put what happened with him and Bronson Reed in the past.
Yes, the greater good, if you will. Have you ever seen Hot Fuzz?
Yes.
A big bushy beard. All right. 6'9" says, good day, all right. Congrats to JC Jane. She's the new NXT Women's Champion. Yes, reports are that Stephanie McCourt may be headed to Raw, Robert. I didn't even have that on the rundown.
Well, there you go. Way to go. Dom, best in the business.
Devin Dallin. Hi, everyone. Just got a suggestion to watch the Daily Wrestling Hotline. What is that, Dom? Ooh, that's my Daily Wrestling Hotline. I talk about, for 15 minutes, I cover one subject. That's it.
Wait, what? Where the hell was I?
It's on Brass Ring Media. What
the hell is this show?
It's just a little thing I do.
Jesus, how many shows do you do?
I do too many. Way too many, Robert. It's crazy.
You're insane. Like the Brian Alvarez of wrestling.
Hey. Dre Owens says, JCJ, congrats. Sol Ruka gets first title shot calling. It should be interesting. Did you see all the buzz Sol Ruka was getting for her finish? Like people criticizing her finishing move?
No, I didn't see the criticism.
We'll talk about it later. Kimmy Star says, plural ladies? What other ladies are here? Oh, there's plenty.
Tons of ladies.
Yeah, they just don't chime in, Kimmy. That's it. Devin says, Double or Nothing was awesome. I'm excited for tonight. All right, yes, let's talk about it. Double or Nothing. I did watch some of a good deal of the show today. And, Robert, I liked it. I did like it. But, like I said, I only watched a bit of it. So, I did not get the whole extension and the feeling of overstaying its welcome. Same time. So I took the highlights. I loved the Anarchy in the Arena match, and the main event was good too.
Yeah, are we doing a match by match breakdown or what are we?
Want to? I was just thinking of touching upon the highlights. Well, what were your big takeaways? Okay, let's start with Toni Storm versus Mercedes Moné kicking off the show, and then Mercedes Moné winning.
Well,
what do you think?
It wasn't Toni Storm versus Mercedes Moné. Again, you're killing it, Dom. Let me. You know what? I'm gonna.
Jamie Hater.
Look. You may think this is your the Gene Okerlund hotline or whatever it is that you do right now. I worked with Mean Gene, love Mean Gene. You, sir, are no Mean Gene. You have less hair.
Oh, that is true.
Also, I liked working with Mean Gene and respected him. I'm kidding. You're great. Mercedes Moné beat Jamie Hater. This match. Look, it's continuing a tradition that they've been doing of late with Mercedes Moné, where she just winds up having these unbelievable matches. You know, her Willow Nightingale match I thought was absolutely fantastic. Mercedes getting the opportunity in the ring to show people why she is one of the best wrestlers out there is a consistently great reason to tune into the pay-per-views. The challenge with Mercedes has been everything else. Her storylines have been somewhat lackluster. Her promos have been meandering at best. And then you let her get in the ring and all of a sudden you go, oh, she's absolutely incredible. Jamie Hayter was incredible. The story of the match that Jamie felt like she had a couple things to prove, that she spent all this time rehabilitating, getting back into the ring. And it's like, if I lose this, what was it all for? Very Charlotte Flair-esque in that narrative, which I appreciated. And it felt like there was a desperation for her to win. There was a desperation for Mercedes to not lose, as Mercedes was undefeated. It was sort of fait accompli. We knew that we were going to wind up getting Mercedes and Tony Storm, but they made the journey worthwhile.
Yeah, I think she needed to win this match. I think she's been there for what? It has to be over a year at this juncture. So her not being in the women's world title picture just feels really, really a big misstep. And so they're correcting course here, and that's what I like to see.
Yeah. They did a this was awkward.
Mhm.
So after this match, they go to the announce desk where the commentators, using their most solemn, serious voice, talk about Jim Ross.
Yes.
And the fact that he is obviously dealing with this colon cancer issue. I know that he had surgery yesterday. Obviously, we send Jim Ross our best. He's part of our ad-free shows family, as well as former coworker of mine. And it was this very sort of heartfelt, emotional moment. And then they immediately pivoted to talking about Nigel McGuinness about to compete in this match
Mhm.
with the same sort of reverence and caution. That was very jarring. I think there was another point in time in this show where you could have addressed the Jim Ross matter, but it wasn't right before. Like, well, we're thinking of one of our announced team members as he's going through a very serious, potentially life-threatening battle, and we're thinking of another member of our commentary team who's about to wrestle a match.
Yeah, I can understand them. Maybe they're kicking off the show, Mercedes and Jamie Hayter, and then like, hey, let's lead in and pay our respects to JR and what he's about to go through and everything like that. So, but yeah, the transition to that is a little out of place.
It felt odd. The FTR match, I thought, went very long. I said there were a couple matches on this show that would have probably benefited from being on a Dynamite or a Collision. This felt like an attraction that would have drawn eyes to a Dynamite or a Collision. I get that.
Minutes too. You're right.
But it went a very long time. And it's also them, Danny Garcia re-signed with AEW when he could have gone to WWE. And I think he's somebody where, all right, let's show full faith and credit. This guy chose to stick with us, even though Hunter was high on him. Let's reward that. And since he's re-signed, he had a very lackluster run as TNT champion, but was almost entirely relegated to Collision. And then he gets put into this match where they feed him to FTR.
Yeah. It is weird. Like Daniel Garcia is somebody that honestly hasn't been on anybody's radar because he's been in the purgatory that's Collision, and he's not been a factor in a great deal. So it is a shame a little bit,
Ricochet beat Mark Briscoe. I don't know if you saw this one or not in the stretcher match.
I wanted to catch this one, but I haven't.
This one was this was an absolute blast. This is one of those opportunities to show Ricochet has a different gear. Mark Briscoe's always going to be that Foley-esque wild man kind of thing, even though we know he can wrestle. You can put him into these sort of brawls, and in the stretcher match or the ambulance match, the stretcher match, even though there's an ambulance there, it felt like it escalated to a gimmick that didn't get earned in some regard. It almost felt like you were playing like the old SmackDown video game on PlayStation 2, and you hit randomize, and you're like, and these two are going to face off in a casket match. Oh, okay. But who cares?
Yeah,
it was a blast. It was a fun match. You got blood. You got an opportunity to show that Ricochet can roll up his sleeves and use those scissors in a more appropriate match style. And it got heel heat on him. They were able to pay it off later. And I think it was a really good decision. It was a nice change of pace for them there. Next up, Hurt Syndicate beat the Sons of Texas, Dustin Rhodes and Sammy Guevara. This was an interesting choice.
Explain.
Why, thank you, Dom.
Yeah.
They just established MJF with the Hurt Syndicate. I probably would have done a match on TV first with Max as part of the Hurt Syndicate, then this match. Because this, again, was in furtherance of a storyline. It was, how is MJF going to coexist with Lashley and Shelton?
Right.
And you could have told this first in, let's say, the Top Flight match, where you see Max is interfering on their behalf when they don't need it. And then you're continuing it here while giving Dustin the opportunity to have a match 6 years after his Double or Nothing match with Cody, which is one of the all-time matches.
Yeah.
So I love the parallel there. It just felt like, hey, we have a lot of stuff we need to tell in this match, and your broader audience, your wider eyeball set, is on Dynamite.
Right.
So I would have liked to have told that story there, reinforce it here, and keep it going. But I thought all those guys were really, really great. This was another really, really solid match in the broadcast. There's a comment here from Shadow. I want to take a look at
Yes,
it.
I was going to bring that up at some point. But here.
It says, I think Robert doesn't understand AEW and can't accept it being different than the WWE product. Some of us don't like sports entertainment.
Robert, what do you got to say about that?
I completely understand the AEW product. Was part of the folks that helped create the initial blueprint that led to AEW. But I think the idea is it can absolutely be different from the WWE product. When they try to be WWE light, that's when they tend to be at their worst. But there's certain tried and true bedrock principles and ideologies that work with a broader wrestling audience. And the fact of the matter is they have an incredibly talented roster. They put on a tremendous pay-per-view, and their ratings week after week are attracting a quarter of what WWE is drawing. So there clearly is market share that they can be going after. And there's certain elements of logic, certain elements of storytelling that transcend the idea of what is or isn't sports entertainment. The stretcher match in AEW was pure sports entertainment. That was not a catch-as-catch-can wrestling match. The first match, Mercedes Moné, Jamie Hayter, was a straight-up wrestling match, and it was a fantastic wrestling match. The FTR match went very long. It felt plodding. It didn't really enhance anything. And on a show where you want it to be as tight as possible and keep that audience engaged, you don't need some of that extra filler. Nobody was going to order this pay-per-view on the strength of some of these matches. And when you shrink it down from a 6-hour show to, let's say, a 3.5-hour show, you really can enjoy what they present a lot better. There was Kazuchika Okada versus Speedball Mike Bailey for the AEW Continental Championship. Did you catch this one?
No, did not catch this one, but
they're doing a great job of spotlighting Speedball Mike Bailey. They have shown what makes him feel special, what makes him feel unique, what makes him feel different since his debut. And these, again, things that I've been harping on AEW for quite a while is when you bring someone new in and you want to show them in a different manner, you need to consistently show them to your audience. Not everybody in that audience knows who Speedball Mike Bailey is. They might not have been watching TNA. They might not have been watching Japan. They might not have been watching the international indies. So the chance to see this guy every single week and every one of his outings feels important is great. And you put him in there with Kazuchika Okada, who's absolutely one of the all-time best that's currently doing it. And Okada's been criminally underrated. So giving these two guys an opportunity to go out there, get this title over, get Speedball Mike Bailey over, obviously put a spotlight on Okada being there. This was a great decision. This was a match that didn't need to be on the pay-per-view, but I was glad that it was on the pay-per-view.
right. And I think it maybe plays to the point of what we're saying when it comes to the sport entertainment aspect. And, you know, you get in the technical wrestling and state being different from WWE, you get something like that on there. It is different than maybe what WWE would allow on their television product in certain ways. So you get that balance of, hey, we get entertainment when it comes to a stretcher match or the anarchy in the arena. But here we go. Here's Okada versus Speedball.
You're going to have different flavors of ice cream. You don't want it to all be one note.
Right.
And I think that they are doing a better job. I think on this show overall, they did a much better job. They balanced a lot of these different factors out to play to different audiences. This match also helped to explain why Okada and Mike Bailey weren't necessarily going to be part of Anarchy in the Arena, even though they're tangentially pulled into this web.
Yes. The web that they weaved.
Timeless Tony Storm, Mina Shirakawa, the AEW Women's Championship.
Went 15 minutes, 16 minutes.
Did you see this one, Don?
Did not see this one.
Maybe just hold up a finger if you've seen one, and I don't have to keep asking you.
Okay.
Wrong finger. Anyway, good match. sort of another like fait accompli. We knew we were getting to Toni Storm and Mercedes Moné.
Mm-hmm.
I thought the match was good. I don't think it was as good as the Jamie Hayter match. I thought it was a good match. Interesting spotlight on Mina Shirakawa, though. This was her first kind of big match as a member of the AEW roster. She didn't win.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like, all right, well, where are we going to go from here with her? And that's where my pause is. And Toni has not earned my confidence that when you do something with a women's division match and then the follow-up for it, they tend to drop the ball. I'm looking at Chris Statlander. Chris Statlander had that incredible match with Mercedes Moné, and there really wasn't that same fervor and follow-up. Some of the women, like, you know, Serena Deeb or a Riho, or Hikaru Shida, they build them up to a pay-per-view, they beat them, and then they vanish as if this is a territory.
Yeah.
And again, you need those reps. You need that continuity for the audience to continue to feel engaged and latch on to these characters. Otherwise, it's just occasional needle drops for some of these folks. And I think part of it is they just have such an expansive roster that Toni gets a little distracted. And if you like distraction, Anarchy in the Arena was the wrestling equivalent of Tony's "I'll have what he's having" match. Sorry, I had to sniff there for completely unrelated reasons. I'm not implying anything whatsoever. Hey Dom, looking for the finger.
Oh no, I watched this one.
Well, there you go. Tell me what it was.
I liked it a lot. I think there was some aspects where it's just like, okay, this is very, very AEW-esque in regards to like going a little too far when it comes to like Willow's ear being handcuffed or chained to the turnbuckle, and then you have the staple gun spot, which was kind of fun in its own regard. But then you had the thumbtacks. There was a lot. There was a lot in this match.
There was a lot in this match. Yes.
Yes.
But again, maybe this is the being the former creative guy, or sometimes current creative guy. Thanks to our friends at Boca Raton Championship Wrestling. But that's besides the point. The narrative going into the story, the Death Riders are this evil, sinister group of monsters who are straight up just murdering people.
Right.
Left, right, sideways. They need to be stopped. Their world champion is holding the title hostage. Then you have the Elite, these power-hungry mutants who are eroding the organization for their own personal glory and gain, and they need to be stopped at all costs. The fate of the company is on the line. And when you get to that match, there's music spots. On the one hand, I love the music spot. I popped. I thought it was entertaining. It was enjoyable. It's just from a kind of pick a lane from a narrative standpoint. If we're treating this seriously, that this is War Games, then War Games. If there's going to be a comedy element to it, let there be a comedy element to it. But you can't kind of have both and expect it to be treated with a certain degree of reverence. And at the same time, picking "Let the Bodies Hit the Floor" is it's the Alliance theme song.
Yeah.
Now I'm picturing Stephanie McMahon in a Kangol hat, and maybe that's what made me angry. Nobody wants to remember that.
Well, Robert, I guess maybe a certain way you could kind of look at it is like, yeah, you think of War Games, you think of the Horsemen, you think of a lot of NWO even at a certain extent, but you think of a lot of these different bigger factions. And what we didn't get with AEW and this Death Riders angle is them feeling like a real legitimate faction. It felt very wanting to forget about it. And so you have this coming into play with the Elite and everything like that. It does add a different level, that adding the music to it. But I think it's almost something that this match needed in a way, if that makes sense.
It did, because it's violence for violence sake, and it's in a bunch of different split screen boxes. I like that they incorporated the ambulance, and then Mark Briscoe showing up drenched in dried blood was a really cool visual. Locking the Death Riders into the ambulance was a nice touch. It was odd that they made such a big deal about Gabe Kidd.
Yeah.
And then Gabe Kidd was not part of the match as an active participant. He showed up at some point, and then it became about his war against Kenny Omega.
Right.
But then the Bucks lost, and it's like, okay, now what? And we to keep it fair in terms of criticism, WWE did this a lot.
Yeah.
They did that. We saw it with the Alliance. We saw it with the Authority, where they would have these big blow off matches. They lose, and then it's like, all right, what are we getting now? We know what we're getting with John Moxley. It's like, well, where do all these folks go from here? They won. Does this mean the Young Bucks are vanquished and gone forever? Of course not.
No.
Then what did I watch other than this was a really, really fun match? And I'm sure we'll talk about it tomorrow and see what the follow up is. I do know their follow up is we're gonna have a tournament.
Yeah, an international title tournament, Robert.
I
Didn't
don't-
know we needed one. I thought we had that set because isn't Kenny Omega facing Okada here at All In? But we get a tournament for the international title still.
But again, they gave us a big, wild 35-minute brawl.
Yep.
And then
we get
Paragon.
Yes.
This is when I said yesterday I let out an expletive of just, are you like? This was where I'm like, this is too much.
Okay.
Nobody needed this. Nobody wanted this. This could have been cut for time. This was your 12:55 Saturday Night Live sketch. Like, guys, we just want to get to the main event. You know what this could have been, by the way? Because the worst thing to do is just criticize something and not give another suggestion. You needed another let me up moment. I know, was it Shadow or whatever? It's like, all right, we don't need the sports entertainment. We don't have to go back.
Okay. Yeah.
We've moved on. But you could have given the audience a quick let me up moment. I think you did need a breather.
Mm-hmm.
You could have sent out Max Caster.
There you go.
Who does his open challenges. He does a rap denigrating the town, denigrating the show. 6 years of this, the only thing that matters is me. Does an open challenge. You bring out Big Bill. Big Bill destroys him in 30 seconds. You move on.
There we go.
Kind of all you need. Even if you wanted to use Paul White, God forbid, you could use you could have done a short little we need a breather moment. I know Harley Cameron was on the pre-show. You could have done a Harley Cameron bit for a minute. Sometimes that's why those let me up moments need to happen. You need to reset. You need to clean up the pools of blood and get rid of the ambulance and the stray body parts that are laying all over the place. Let the audience recompose themselves before the main event. They didn't need a 13-minute match where you just saw a multi-man match to now get another multi-man match where the payoff was New Japan guys showing up.
Yeah.
When we just watched a multi-man match where a New Japan guy showed up at the end. It was too much. And I think you could have strategically removed that and it would have been just fine.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. I agree with you.
Main event.
Main event. I did watch this, Robert.
What'd you think of this main event, Dom?
I liked it. And to be honest, Robert, I'm okay with the result of Hangman winning. But I understand the argument against it, too, at the same time.
And that's why I'm here. No, this was a fantastic match for the most part. A couple little hiccups here and there. That's going to happen. But this went 35 minutes, something like that. 36 minutes, 56 seconds. These two guys understood the assignment. They wanted to go tell an epic story. There were a number of callbacks. You had the Hangman using other moves. The idea that Ospreay during that we're drinking beers thing on Dynamite kind of reignited the fire inside of Hangman Page. I still hate the finish. This was the wrong decision for the longevity of AEW. So AEW has been pivoting over the last few months. I think, Tony, if you really got an honest moment from him, and I may have heard this from the folks, has realized they were not doing their best work for a short window of time. It was losing what made AEW special, what made it different. They were trying to be some variation of WWE Light and doing too many things for too many people at too many times. There has been a more streamlined, cohesive show in the last 2 months minimum, perhaps a little longer, where we're focusing on the right guys, the right talent, and the right stories. We got to get away from the Death Riders. The Death Riders are an albatross around the neck of this company. And John Moxley, as AEW World Champion, has not produced anything that they would have been happy about. I don't think they have gotten any new fans from it. I don't think any current fans are loving the Moxley stuff. It's long in the tooth. It's disjointed. It's confusing. It's weird. And it's been going on since September.
It's been too long.
It's been a very long time for there to be no payoff.
Mhm.
All in, their biggest show of the year, their WrestleMania, was an opportunity to really turn the page, no pun intended, to
Hey.
give you that fresh start. You wanted a moment there that the audience has never seen. Will Ospreay ascending to be the guy in AEW is something that the fans are incredibly behind.
Mhm.
He feels new, he feels different, but it feels well earned. And he's a guy who's been a great ambassador for AEW in the media. He's been someone who's been talking about, like, look, I chose to come here. I left New Japan to come here. I could have gone to WWE. I want to be here. I believe in this company. I believe in this roster. Put this place on my back. Let me be the guy. And you only get a few opportunities of that in wrestling, especially at a WrestleMania where you can anoint somebody and make them the guy. You want that WrestleMania 14 moment of Stone Cold Steve Austin beating Shawn Michaels.
Mhm.
They had it, and they didn't go with it. And it feels very AWA-ish, where they couldn't pull the trigger on Hogan. Going with Hangman, who we've already seen win the AEW World title.
Mhm.
We've already seen his title run be less than spectacular. We know all the baggage in TV mode where he tried to murder Swerve Strickland. His character's gone through all these weird ups and downs. We know the behind the scenes stuff with him aligned with the Bucks. The fact that he's bringing in, the bad memories of all the nonsense that happened with Punk. Like, it was a chance for a fresh start. And Ospreay beating Moxley becomes a really interesting path forward. There were people who kept thinking that potentially it was going to be Darby that was going to be the guy to upend Moxley. Could very well still someday be Darby being the one to upend Moxley. Darby chose to climb Mount Everest. Darby had there's other areas and interests. Like if he could go play softball, I think he would love to go play softball. I just think Ospreay would have been a shot across the bow of, this is our guy, this is our company going forward. Get on board, get excited. Hangman does not have that same feel. And I think that there is a possibility that Moxley retains it all in.
Who? Please don't say that.
There is a possibility that Hangman. I said I would have liked to have seen a Hangman heel turn. Quite frankly, I think that could have been really interesting. It felt like you could have done Hangman and Swerve teaming up against the Young Bucks to pay off that story. Like these two men who hate each other are brought together for a common good. And that gives you an extra match on the show. Now it's like, well, what are we going to do with Ospreay? Is Ospreay losing the momentum? It's like when Lex Luger failed to win the WWE title, that was the end of it for
That
him.
was it.
The audience is only forgiving up to a certain point. I know the AEW audience is going to be more sophisticated for some of it, but they had a chance and they didn't go with it here. And the takeaway was, why didn't they, as opposed to, oh, I can't wait to see what they do with Hangman Adam Page and John Moxley.
Yeah, so I think the only thing, and I'm with you. I think the aspect of Ospreay is like a fresh slate, clean slate for them. And moving forward, it's like, hey, let's look ahead here. I do think the argument could be made that Hangman, obviously one of the AEW originals, that people have been on this roller coaster of a ride through the good and the bad and all that stuff. So him being the one to potentially unseat Moxley here and kind of, hey, this is the ride and this is Hangman finally reaching to where we wanted him to be, both as a person and as a champion, I think is still a fine story. And I think I could make an argument that Hangman and Moxley, the drama that you're building up to this could make a better drama than what Ospreay could offer at this juncture in regards to just, let's kill this Death Riders angle. Hangman seems like a better fit to kill the Death Riders angle if that's what they're doing. But if they don't do that, I'm completely with you on all this. So that's the only argument.
I mean, we'll see. I'm hoping that they know what they're doing. Look, I remember the day after WrestleMania 39 and Roman retains and everyone went, what the hell are they doing? They dropped the ball with Cody. They proved everybody wrong. So I would love for Tony Khan to quote Principal Skinner, prove me wrong, kids. Prove me wrong. And we'll find out tomorrow as we are here every Monday through Friday at noon Eastern on a plethora of platforms, including the WWE Creative _ISH X account, the at Dominic D'Angelo X account, the at SE Scoops X account, and on YouTube on ad-free shows and Rumor and Innuendo. So on behalf of the worst kept secret Batman on the planet, Dominic D'Angelo, I'm Robert Karpelis. Best of luck in your future endeavors.
That's right. I am no Bruce Wayne, everyone, just so you know. Or am I?